Getting cancer was in some ways the most important thing that has ever happened in my life. It was a turning point, a time in my life that I can look back at and see that there was a version of who I was before cancer and a version now. I can unequivocally say that I like the post-cancer version of me much better. My name is Aaron Lewison. I'm a Brandeis undergraduate alum, class of 2011, a Heller School MBA graduate, class of 2016, a staff member in the advancement office at Brandeis, and for just over a year, I've been cancer-free. Before cancer, I found it very hard to understand what it was like when others were suffering. The thought rarely crossed my mind that their suffering may have been random. In some ways, I thought there may have been a reason for why they got what they got. Maybe it was an environmental or lifestyle factor, but I was wrong, and I'm so glad that I was wrong. But I know that there are people out there who think how I did. But let me tell you something. There is absolutely no reason for you to not get cancer. If someone can get cancer, so can you. And when cancer hits you, it hits you hard. I know a lot of people will end their cancer talks with lessons, but I want to start with one. Cancer does not care who you are, where you are, or when you are. Cancer does not care how busy you are or what your plans are. Cancer will not wait for you to be less busy to deal with it. When I was diagnosed with stage 2 testicular cancer in the summer of 2015, I was in the middle of my capstone project at the Heller School. I was working full time, and my future wife and I had just gotten engaged, and we were house hunting. In June of that year, I participated in my 4th weekend-long bike ride, going with hundreds of other riders from Boston to Cape Cod for over 150 miles. Throughout my training, I would feel a pain in my right testicle. But since there was no way that I could have a real health problem, I worked it out to just be from the many hours riding on my bike. Eventually though, I felt a lump. That should have been evidence enough, but given my disbelief that anything bad could ever happen to me, I convinced myself that maybe the lump had always been there. Each day, I would get a dull pinching pain in my right testicle. By this point, all of the symptoms started to add up to something that needed to be checked out. But if it weren't for my fiancée encouraging me to go, I'm not sure I ever would have. My doctor sent me to see a urologist, who for some reason spent 15 minutes talking me through what a testicular cancer diagnosis is all about. But it still wasn't sinking in, so I figured this just was the pep talk that he gave everybody. I got an ultrasound and was told to wait a few days to hear back about the results. The next day, my MBA group gave one of our final presentations at the Somerville mayor's office. Before we walked in, I got a call from the hospital. I let it go to voicemail because I was busy. Good news or bad news, I couldn't do anything about it now. No one can ever prepare you for the words, "you have cancer." Even hearing them as directly as that, I thought he couldn't have meant cancer. But he did. He meant real cancer. The doctor waited patiently on the phone to hear my questions, but I didn't have any. I didn't know what to say. How could I have cancer? I don't feel any differently than I did yesterday. I felt embarrassed to ask the questions that I had. I didn't even understand what cancer was. I felt so unprepared for this conversation. I would need an immediate surgery. Beyond that, I would need further tests to figure out if more than just a surgery would cure me of this disease. The CT scan was conclusive. Being told I needed chemotherapy was almost harder hit than being told that I had cancer. Cancer was invisible. It was inside me. Chemo was a drug and there were immediate side effects. Chemo would knock me down well before cancer got a chance to kill me, but it was my only hope. I was told I would absolutely lose my hair. Yeah, right. Only real cancer patients lose their hair, not me. But I did lose my hair. I lost all of my hair. Now it was the time to start telling people. Up to this point, my excuses for having to duck out of work or miss class was that I just had a doctor's appointment. No, it was really nothing, just a regular appointment. Telling my loved ones about my diagnosis was even harder than being told myself. I cried in the car telling my mom. I quietly told my dad during a summer beach day. My sister found out because she reads my mom's text messages. My future wife stood solidly by me, even though she cried on her own. Once my friends found out, many of them visited their own doctors, for their own testicular checkups. They thought that if Aaron could get cancer, that we could get cancer. They barely needed any encouragement. They were much smarter than me. Testicular cancer has one of the highest survival rates. While it's extremely fast growing, that means it's very responsive to chemotherapy. But if not caught, it can spread fast. To kill the cancer cells that were growing throughout my body and causing masses to build up in my abdomen, I'd go through 9 weeks of chemo, ingesting a cocktail of 3 different drugs, taking a combination of steroids and nausea medication. Over the course of 9 weeks, the chemo wore me out in ways that I still have trouble understanding. From what my wife tells me now, for hours a day, I could be found lying on the couch, staring blankly at a TV that had transitioned from whatever I was watching to infomercials. My whole body was exhausted. Literally every muscle, every bone felt as if it ran a marathon. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I could feel the drugs both working for me and against me. I couldn't eat, but I was hungry. I needed to drink water, but it tasted terrible. I needed to get up and move around, but I just sank deeper into the couch. My immune system collapsed. I had to decline visits from friends and family. I had to take a drug to boost my immune system, but in turn that sent me to the emergency room because it caused my bones to feel like they were being crushed. 2 days later, I got a fever of 103 degrees and back to the emergency room again. But we got through it. We got through it because of a network of friends and family who supported me every step of the way. I relied on them for rides to the hospital. I relied on them to keep my spirits high. We got through it with a never-ending positive attitude. If you asked me at the time, it was the greatest 9 weeks off since summer vacation. Yeah, there were days that sucked, but there were days where I was totally healthy. I would go on long walks, I'd eat at restaurants I never got the chance to try. I started taking yoga classes, and I even played in a tennis tournament and won first place. The cravings were the best part. When I had an appetite, I'd want buffalo chicken, candy, pizza, and Italian subs. Before cancer, those would only be for indulging, but now I thought, what the hell? Eventually, the 9 weeks came to an end. The chemo regimen had ended, and now it was time to see if it actually worked. Reality hit again. The question of whether it actually worked was daunting. I couldn't fathom that everything we just went through, over 9 weeks, may not have actually accomplished our goal of curing my cancer. The doctor told me that my blood tests revealed that my tumor markers had gone down to normal levels, but they'd need to do another CT scan to see if I'd need an additional surgery to remove the masses that had grown in my abdomen. But the scan came back and showed that 2 of my masses had basically disappeared, and only 1 was right on the cusp of being worrisome. The chemo had been even more effective than they had ever anticipated. We were done, just like that. As fast as I was given a cancer diagnosis, I was told it was gone. I almost couldn't comprehend it. I asked, "This is good news, right?" My doctor laughed. "Yes," he said. "But we'd have to be very careful. I'd have to come back every 3 months for another scan just to make sure." That was over a year ago, and not one trace of cancer has returned. As a celebration for getting through the hardest period in our lives, my fiance and I had our wedding this past fall. We couldn't think of a party any bigger than that. I asked my doctor why he thought the chemo was so effective. All he said was that positivity makes a bigger difference than you think. What my cancer diagnosis taught me is that life can get short, and you should live life to the fullest every day. It taught me the value of friendships, and how important it is to surround yourself with positivity. It taught me the importance of helping others. Some struggles in life are far too big to be dealt with on your own, and acts of kindness, no matter how small, can make a huge difference. Whether it's buying lunch, giving a ride, or sending a card, every gesture can make someone feel less alone. It is very likely that the pizza a friend shipped from Chicago actually helped to cure my cancer. I want to leave you all with this. In whatever way that cancer has affected you, the best thing you can do is to stay positive and love your friends and your family with all of your heart. A positive attitude and being surrounded by your loved ones can make all the difference. Thank you for coming out tonight, for supporting this wonderful cause, for supporting each other. With the unending positivity that comes out of events like this, cancer never stands a chance. Thank you.